add to the stream. There we go. So, ladies, welcome. Hi, Sabrina. Can you hear me okay? Can you type in the chat box if you can hear me? Hi. Well, I'm going to just launch right into hi, Nancy. Could you let me know if you can hear me okay? Can you guys hear me? I really need to get some feedback on my volume because I'm using a headset and I thought the sound would be much better. But I'm not, I don't get anybody, no one's giving me feedback. I hear you. Okay. Okay. I love this topic because I think what happens is women, get so excited. I know I did when I meet somebody that I like, and it's easy to miss a lot of the red flags or throw out all of your ideal man list when you think he's marriage material. So I wanted to cover this because, you like him, he's handsome, but before you waste any time, I want to help you find out if he's marriage material. Now, before I go into the content, I want to ask you to stay to the end because I have a really big announcement. I have a free training for you that's available immediately after this broadcast. So stick around to the end so you can see what it is. Okay, let's dive right in. And so what I want you to do is just, make a little note of the questions that I'm going to ask you, things that I want you to consider whether or not he's marriage material. And so projecting the future, would I want to spend the rest of my life with this person exactly as they are? Why I think this is really important, because women have a tendency to want to change men. We want to change how they look. We want to change and get them to do things they normally don't do, and etc. So you really have to accept men as they are. People typically don't change when we hit midlife. We're kind of set in our ways. We know what we like, and our habits, die hard. So you want to make sure that, is this a person that you can spend the rest of your life with without changing him? And another question I want you to ask yourself, I think this is really great, even if you're not in childbearing years, it's still a great question. Is this a person that you'd want to raise your child? Or is this somebody that you would want to be, a mentor to? And so just check in with that. And also, would you want this person to be, would you want your child or your niece or your nephew to be like this person, like this man? So ask yourself those questions. Those are really great questions. Now, when I met Michael, I can honestly say that I didn't want to change him. I loved the way he was, and I knew that try not to change men. I already learned that in my first go around. And then would I want this person to raise my children? Yes, Michael is such an amazing father, and I would have to say that was a yes for me. And then would I want my children to be exactly like this person? Well, not exactly, but a lot of the qualities and characteristics that Michael has, yes, I would want those in my children and want those in my children. So I answered yes to all three of those questions when it came to Michael. And so the next portion of this is, are you talking yourself into a relationship? And so do you want to rescue or help a man because you see potential? And this is really important because I've met some amazing men and I've seen a lot of potential. I dated a man that was really incredible, but he didn't exercise and that wasn't his thing. And no judgment, it's just that I saw his potential, but I would want to help him get to a place where he was exercising more. So then I'm already trying to change him, right? And maybe it's somebody that that you're dating or you'd like to date or you're going to date, and it's important to you that he has a certain status in life because you want him to open doors for you. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think that successful men, you want to pair yourself with a successful man, but you got to make sure that he has more than that to offer you. That's not going to be enough for you, maybe initially, but eventually you're going to want more. And maybe he's totally different from the people that you've dated in the past. So that's making him stand out. And maybe you might be focusing on one quality, for example, like money or sex, humor. And, if you laugh with the man, it is so easy to be with him. You might overlook the fact that maybe things aren't so, no fireworks in the bedroom, or, he's maybe doesn't really have his ducks in a row. He hasn't made the best decisions in his financial and his business life. And so it might be a struggle for you. And again, it isn't about gold digging whatsoever. It's just about, ladies, we have to realize that when I've made consistent good decisions, especially in the last 10 years, before that it was training for me. And I always share that with all of you. But the last 10 years, I've been making really good decisions because I learned a lot of hard lessons before that. So I would say, look at the last 10 years of this man's life. At least the last 7 years, has he been making good decisions financially? Is he consistent? Is he passionate about his career, his job, etc.? Those are important things because they dictate how happy he's going to be. A man judges himself by his success in life, his business and his career and his goals. And if he isn't really happy with that, that could affect you. And so let's talk about some danger signs. Okay, and I want you to look out for frustration, rage, and anger, or even blame. Just notice that, because those are signs of something deeper that's going on, right? That you may not be able to help him with. That's an inside job. And maybe a man that blames everybody for what's happening. I went out with a guy that was always pointing out what was wrong with everybody. We'd go to dinner and he'd be like, oh, look at that guy, look at that guy, look at that guy. And it was exhausting for me. And so that's something to look out for. Another one is tries to control everything, including you. You don't want to be controlled by a man. You want a man that supports you and what you're doing and offers help when you ask for it, but he's not trying to control outcomes. A lot of men can be controlling. I know a lot of women can be controlling. I used to be very controlling. Controlling is connected to fear of not feeling safe. So I will try to control things sometimes because I want to try to control the outcome. And so I want to be safe. So if I feel like I'm controlling everything, then I'll feel safer. But in the process of doing that, I put blinders on and I'm very rigid in my thinking. It doesn't allow me to have any flexibility if I'm trying to control outcomes. And so when men are controlling, they're very rigid, and that can be a problem for you. Another what did I call these danger signs is emotionally distant. I know I've talked about this before, but when you are with a man and you're in a relationship, it's very harmful to both of you if you're emotionally distant and if he's emotionally distant. If his pattern is to withdraw because he never learned to express himself, because it was never safe for him to express himself, that is something you really need to discuss with him, talk to him about, and see if he's willing to open up and get some dialogue going. Because when somebody shuts down and backs up, it's very hard to reach them. And they usually do it because they've lived with criticism and judgment. That's usually where it comes from. It's a learned behavior. It's like, it's not safe to say anything, so I'm just going to go within. And in that process, they leave you on the outside of that, and you really can't penetrate that wall. It's a defense mechanism. It's really dysfunctional, and it's harmful to you. So that's a big danger sign for you. Still pining for past relationships or unresolved past relationships. Talking about his ex, frequently, comparing to his ex, and just really clear to you that he's not over a past relationship. Why this is important, because we've all had relationships, and what happens is when somebody isn't past their previous relationship, they bring it into the present, and you're in a relationship with him and his ex-wife and you. And now there is going to be degrees that you're going to have to navigate a spouse that, former spouse. However, if he still has some regret or connection to that spouse in an unhealthy way, it's going to come up, and there's going to be 3 of you in the relationship, and I hate that. I don't want that for you. And so you want to make sure that that's one of the danger signs that you make a note of. I've said this before, married or otherwise unavailable. So don't date separated men. It's a waste of your time. They're not available legally and probably emotionally. And obviously addiction problems, right? These are, addictive qualities. Maybe it's addictions to behaviors, even rationalizing things a lot. That could be a way of an avoidance pattern besides alcohol, food, drugs, etc. And I'm just going to go over a couple other common red flags that I've seen, and then I'm going to take some questions. And so here's some common red flags: pessimistic or negative about things that matter to you. So if he's critical about you and negative, that's going to wear on you. Maybe he lacks integrity in dealing with people and money. And I was watching recently one of the women that I'm working with, and there's a man that always is trying to get a good deal. So he's always negotiating for a better deal and the dates and shopping and the valet. And although I do respect that he would get better deals, I dated somebody like that, and after a while, it became a little tiresome. I have to admit, I was a little embarrassed by that, but I saw the value for him, but it was too much for me to take on. And so in the long haul, it wasn't something that I could live with. Doesn't keep agreements. That's a big one, right? You need a man that's dependable. That's the number one thing for me: loyalty and dependability. If you don't have those, you're left to feel very insecure in your day-to-day life, which could turn you into a victim mentality, because you're trying to depend on somebody and you want to give them the benefit of the doubt. So you keep giving it to them, and pretty soon you fall into this victim mode where you just can't believe he's doing this to you, et cetera. And you kind of lose your footing and lose yourself in that. And it's easy to slip into that unconscious behavior where you can't get out of it because you think that you have to wait to see if he's going to come through. You know, the first time he's not dependable, doesn't show up for you, you can give him, a hall pass. But the second time, it really would require a sit down and have a conversation about it. That leads to giving you the insight that there's much more going on for him, and it could be a behavior that's so dysfunctional you won't be able to live with it because it's going to make you feel so insecure. Another one that I really love is being able to take feedback or self-examine. I mean, all I teach is about self-inquiry, self-examining, becoming the best version. And the only way to do that is by being able to look within. And when somebody makes a suggestion, when Michael makes a suggestion, for example, I'm doing this no complaining 7-day mental diet right now with me and my ladies. And I told him, if you hear me complaining, if you can just say you're complaining and that feedback and that's it, I would appreciate it. So I really want the feedback. And a man that's not open to having constructive feedback, not criticism, especially when he invites it, that's going to be hard for you to grow together, right? Another one is a red flag is that he's not really exactly what you want, but you don't want to be alone. You're afraid to be alone. You're thinking that you may not meet anybody else that's better. And that's a really big red flag. You really need to look at that, where that fear is coming from, and start trusting yourself more and more. Because it's great, the first 2 years of that relationship could be wonderful, but what happens at the third year when you start to see that he's really not marriage material, and now you're stuck in a relationship that takes a big toll on you emotionally, physically, financially to get out of. It's not worth it. And then you find yourself single again after all that, the time that has spent, time wasted. And time is our most precious asset, as I always say. So make sure you're not doing that. Inability to listen. Listening is such a beautiful skill that we all want in our conscious relationships. We want to be listened to more than anything, not really told what to do or given feedback. More than anything, we just all need somebody who really listens and holds that space for us when we're going through something. I think that's such an important quality. And I really recommend all of you watching to start cultivating your better listening skills, and grab a book off Amazon if you struggle with that, because that's going to make your value go up. Because like I just said, having a friend that's a great listener, I'm sure you value them. You want that in your partner, and you want to be able to offer that in a partnership. So the rest, talking too much, not talking enough, those kind of things, those are common red flags. So I don't see anything else on my list. I hope you made some notes and you came up with some good things that you're going to be looking for when you're dating, and making sure you don't settle, because I want you to make sure that he is marriage material. Because I don't know if you've been divorced and you're on your second marriage, or you're out there for the second time like I am. I didn't want to ever be single again, and I didn't want to get into a relationship that I didn't think could stand the test of time. So it's worth considering these suggestions that I've made for you. Now, I would love to take some questions. Let's see. Suzanne, what if the guy has been separated forever, but they just haven't put the divorce process in place, in motion? Okay, let's talk about that. What if the guy's been separated forever, but they just haven't put the divorce papers in process? Well, for me, I would say that call me when it isn't in when it's final. That's my deal breaker. That's me, and I'm not saying that you have to embody that, but that could go on forever. Typically, when I've seen that happen, it's because finances, and maybe the couple agrees, let's just stay separated, legally separated, but let's keep our finances together. And I respect it. That's their choice. But can you live with that? Can you live with knowing that him and his ex, or separated ex, have partnerships? And a lot of people do. I'm not saying it's good, bad, wrong, or right. I'm just saying you have to ask yourself, what is important to you? And because basically a man that's not divorced could end up stringing you along indefinitely. So I don't think that timelines really work in terms of that. So I wouldn't get involved in somebody who's in the process of getting a divorce, because then you find yourself in this position. I'm sorry, I wish I had a more gray answer that would to give you the feeling that they would be okay, but I just think it's black and white for me, and that's where I stand on that. That screams fear of commitment. So true. So true, and it just lets you know that he can't be completely available and committed to you because of his prior commitments. So like I said, doesn't necessarily mean it's good, bad, wrong, or right, but you're not number one. You may not even be number two. You might be number three. That can get old. Good. Separated is a deal breaker for a single person. Thank you, Clay. We got our gentleman friend weighing in on that. So let me see if there's any other. I want a man that makes me want to be a better woman. Found him. Yes, you did, Tracy. And congratulations on your new home. Tracy was in one of my programs. She met a wonderful guy. They did a long distance thing. And through the coaching in the program, she learned how to navigate that. And he's just bought her beautiful home. They just moved in together, and they're going to be getting married in the foreseeable future. We're so excited for you, Tracy. Love you, and congratulations again. Let's see. Another question. If a man is usually emotionally unavailable, not affectionate or sharing, but great in other ways, love his family and great interest in common, is there a way to make a better connection? So there's usually a reason why people aren't unavailable. And so they're scared to be vulnerable because it's not safe for them. They haven't learned to accept themselves on a deeper level where they can open up and share whatever's on their heart and their mind. And they also have a big fear of rejection. And so is there a way? Well, you can make yourself really vulnerable, and it would require that for you to extend like an olive branch, so to speak, that lets him know that that you want him to open up more emotionally. And I'm not saying these are the exact words. I guess for what I would do if a man was emotionally unavailable, I would ask if he'd be willing to sit down and talk to me just about life and a few things. And then I would just approach it very gently with my feather, very carefully. And just, if I cared about him and I was invested in him, I would say, I want you to know that I would really love it if we could build more trust in our relationship. And I've been observing you, and I can see that it's hard for you to open up. And I'm just curious to know if you're open to exploring why that is, and maybe even getting some books and reading them together, or just talking more about it, because I would love for us to be able to build more trust in our relationship and have a better connection. And I can see that you're tentative about that, and you withdraw a little bit, and it causes me confusion, and I don't want to feel that way. You know, I want us to be able to share openly together all the time. So are you open to exploring how we can do that? So be curious, create an invitation to that exploration. Don't come across as critical and judgmental, just as you would a friend, right? And this person is your friend. Let's try to signal him in a loving way. And if he still resists, then you may have to vote with your feet, because emotionally unavailability, you could, like you said, you can only go so deep. And it's just on the surface, and that gets old pretty quickly. And okay, so let's see, any more questions? How do you know when someone is serious when they say they love you? Well, when a man tells you he loves you, I believe he's speaking the truth. He loves you. It doesn't mean he's committed to you. He's feeling, but it does mean that he's connected to you emotionally. You built an emotional connection, and he loves you. But it doesn't mean more than that. Don't make an assumption. Michael loved me. We built an emotional connection, but he wasn't ready to commit to me. And in fact, I remember him saying, I'm all in, I'm all in. And I loved the way that sounded, but I'm like, what does that mean? And he wasn't ready to define it. And so I had to give him more time, but he loved me. And so I know that can be very confusing, because you go, great, he loves me. Let's get this party started. When are we going to go ring shopping? But hold your horses, because you don't know if he's marriage material. He loves you. That's one step, but that's not everything. He has to really like you. He has to have all these qualities that I just shared with you, and he has to want a life with you. And that takes time to really discover. It's great that you meet somebody. He's got these qualities that we discussed. He's marriage material, but will he get married? That takes time, and you need to build trust. So you really don't know, I feel, whether or not he's going to want to explore, if he hasn't said he wants to explore a marriage. And, you know, it just depends. Everybody's really different, but you have to watch for the signs. And then you have to have courageous conversations. If you hear him making statements contrary to getting married, you might want to talk to him about it. I mean, you all have heard me say that when I went to dinner with Michael, we'd been dating for 2 months, and we were at dinner at this beautiful restaurant, and he really pulled out all the stops to impress me, and it was delightful. And he blurted out during this conversation, I'm never getting married again. And I was like really triggered by that. And I said, don't worry, I'm not going to marry you. But inside, like, I was dying, right? But I also had enough self-mastery to observe that he was triggered. And maybe the restaurant triggered a memory. Maybe what we were talking about triggered a memory. So I decided to continue to observe him. So I do believe you should believe a man when he says, I'm never getting married, but you should also observe the circumstances around that declaration, because I could see that Michael was really into me. I could see that he'd been married for 25 years before he met me. I knew he was a family man. I knew all of his siblings were married. And I'm like, And I'd been married for a long time, and I was thinking he's probably going to get married again at some point. So let me see what's really going on here. But again, you have to look at what's going on in the circumstances. Okay, let's see. Any other questions? What if they say they are a simple man and are fearful they might not be enough for you? I've heard this before. And so let's see, what if they say they're a simple man? And so I guess you have to look at their life and see if that is enough for you. One of the things that I've seen, and I had to really examine this in myself, is that when I was beginning my dating process after I was ready to start dating again after my divorce, I was thinking I wanted to do blank, 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 right? I wanted to go to black tie events and do all these things that I had done in my first marriage, because it's just what I remembered that I did. But on further examination, especially when I was late 40s, I started to process and think about the fact that I think I did my time with banquets and black tie events and charity events. Not to say I won't do them now, but I'm just saying that I'd done a lot of things for the school, for the children, and I had to re-examine what I really needed. And I wanted a simpler life. I wanted to just ski, work out, and cook dinners and go out once a week. So it's pretty simple. So check in with yourself. Make sure that you are clear with the lifestyle that you really want to live now, because believe me, ladies, as you know, it changes when you get older. Don't set yourself up for a failure thinking you're going to do all these things when your energy level is here. You know, part of getting older is accepting what is. We have to accept that we have to modify. We have to modify our lifestyle, our workouts, our diets, our sleep, our alcohol consumption. And there's a resistance to do that because, you know, we don't want to kind of to accept the fact that we're aging. But the best thing to do is just recognize it. Life's going to be a lot easier when you get into surrender and acceptance, because I've done that and I have to do it consistently. Here we are up in Deer Valley. It's a really high altitude. And the first 5 days were all about adjusting to the altitude. It's harder now that I'm getting older, and my workouts are very limited. We haven't even done a hike yet because we're acclimating. And so we had to modify. And part of me, my brain thinks go, 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 but then my body goes, no, no, no. So, okay, let me go on to the announcement that I wanted to make. And I've got, let me see if this is going to work. I'm going to show there we go. Oops, that's not it. I'm going to hide that. This is the first time that, oops. Okay, I think this is it. There we go. Okay, here's my big announcement, and it's on the bottom of the screen. Okay, so I recently interviewed John Gray, author of Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, and we spent an hour, and he basically just schooled me. And those of you who are going to watch it in an hour interview, and I cut it in half. I made it part 1 and part 2, and I made it available for all of you watching for free. Right now it's available. If you go to the link in the box below on Facebook or YouTube, you can find that link. And take advantage of this free opportunity to hear Dr. John Gray talk about, you know, how to lead him without changing him, what makes you most attractive to men, and what repels them completely, why taking the wrong or right out of conversations will increase intimacy and fast track love, and the number one power of attraction. And he said this is a game changer. And how do we read between the lines and understand what he's saying? So, you know, I adore John. He has just been such a wonderful resource over the years to my audience. And I hope all of you take advantage of this free training. It's only going to be up for a week. So sign up for it, watch the interviews, download them, take notes, and I hope you find some value in it. And let me know what you think. Hit me with an email and let me know what you think about the training that he's provided for all of us. Okay, ladies and gents, thank you so much for being here. I am not doing a broadcast next week. John Gray is going to be featured all week, but the first Thursday in July, I'll be back for the first 3 Thursdays in July. So have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your week and weekend, and I will see you soon. Sending you lots of love. Thanks for being here. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, like Facebook, if you want to receive notifications when I'm going live next. Okay, bye-bye. Okay.